What's up YouTube community, Bernd here, welcome back to another video lesson. We talked quite a lot about shredding, techniques like alternate picking, sweep picking and more insanities on the channel recently. So the community on Patreon had the great idea to focus on a riff writing lesson today. I think that's a great idea, thanks a lot for the input. So once again I composed a really cool practical demonstration, a riff that I want you to learn today. If you also want to decide on the lesson topics or you have a special suggestion for me, make sure to check out my shred guitar community over at patreon.com/bernd. Over there you can also download the tabs and practice backing tracks for all the lessons, and you can also get some personal feedback and coaching from me in case you need any further assistance with certain topics. So with all that said, let's get started with today's lesson right now. For today's practical demonstration, I came up with a really easy and basic riff that we will spice up together. I think that this is a really cool approach for songwriting in general. I guess you rarely come up with the perfect, super thought out and interesting riff from scratch. At least in my case, I tend to add more layers and details to a basic idea that I already like. So here's the riff that we will closely dissect today. As always, you can download the tabs, guitar profiles and practice backing tracks for this section on patreon.com/bernd. Studying with those files is always very helpful, of course, to really learn, memorize and understand those quite complicated shapes. So as promised, the basic foundation here is really simple. I was just playing an E, C and D power chord. The E power chord, C, D. So that works as a nice foundation. I like the sound of this super simple cadence, but I guess you came across this one quite often before, so it's not really that original. So the first thing we should think about is adding some more harmonic information to those power chords. As you know by now, a power chord is just a perfect fifth, so it doesn't have the sound of major or minor. It's neutral, so it doesn't sound sad or happy or exciting or dissonant or anything like that. It basically just sounds more powerful than the single notes, but it doesn't have any special characteristics to it. So when I just add the thirds to those power chords in the key of E minor, I would end up with an E minor chord, of course, a C major chord and a D major chord. Now I get more melodic information from this cadence, but it still doesn't sound too interesting. So my main approach with today's riff was adding more interesting notes to the voicings, like the minor or major 7th and tensions like the 9th. So in the first measure I already used one of my absolute favorite chords ever. So that one sounds really cool and a bit dissonant, and I use it very frequently instead of just working with basic minor chords. In case you're not familiar with that one, I'm playing the root, either the low open E string right here, or I could also play E on the 7th fret on the A string. Then I'm following that with the perfect 5th, B in this case, the 9th F sharp, and I have the minor 3rd G on top. And the cool thing about this voicing is that the 9th and minor 3rd are really rubbing against each other, so there's a lot of dissonance right here, because those two notes are just a semitone apart. But in the context of the entire voicing, it actually doesn't sound that dissonant anymore, and it gives this chord a really interesting sound. Up next I worked with two really cool tricks to keep it interesting for the listener. Trick number one is working in some rhythmic surprises. So the basic idea, the foundation for this riff I played for you in the beginning, is just composed in a 4/4 time signature, and I'm just playing 8th notes. But as you can see, I changed that to 3/4 in the second measure. That immediately adds a more progressive sound to this section, and you can see this in detail in the tab that I provided on Patreon. The second interesting trick that I applied right here is essentially playing melody notes in the E minor scale with my right hand. So my left hand is essentially locked in this chord shape that I'm playing, but I can add some notes of the E minor scale with my right hand. I can perform some slides, pull-offs and more interesting details that make this section really cool. So here are the first two measures played a bit slower for you. It's another interesting detail. I'm actually hammering this note, D, on the 10th fret of the low E string with my ring finger, so I can make it to the tapped note in time with my right hand. So that already sounds much more interesting than And then up next I'm working with another trick that I really like to use. I'm essentially using the same voicing, so I'm playing B, F sharp and G, the top of this E minor add 9 voicing, but I'm changing the bass notes to fit this cadence that I have in mind. So this is the same voicing I played before, B, F sharp and G, but then I'm switching to C as my lowest note, to D, and then down to B, so that's quite a stretch right here. And by doing that, the notes of the voicing are in a different relationship with the root note or bass note each time. You can work with this really cool approach much more often than you might think, because all of those top notes in the voicing are in the E minor scale, so I can essentially just change the bass note, and then the relationship between the high notes and the bass note is changing. But I'm not just pairing random notes together, I'm still working in this established system called the key of E minor. So here are the third and fourth measure once again. So the idea basically stays the same for the chords. I'm still working with this kind of voicing, but I'm changing the bass note. And up next I introduced a different kind of approach and sound to the riff after playing a short rhythmic phrase. So with that one my focus is, as always, nailing the timing and those drum accents. But after that I worked with a cool trick and with a little harmonic minor twist. So I was working with some really cool intervals right here. I was starting out with an unison, perfect unison interval, so same note in two different areas of the fretboard, E right here and E also right here. So on the 9th fret on the G string and on the 5th fret on the B string. And then I was just sliding down with my pinky finger and getting different intervals, thinking in the E harmonic minor scale. So a little exotic sound right here, mainly because of that minor second interval, and that would be the raised 7th scale degree of harmonic minor. And after that, another very popular element, a pinch harmonic. So just E on the 7th fret on the A string. And for the last part, to return to the original idea, I was actually just extending those power chords a little bit. So I was adding the perfect fifth once again on the bottom of the power chord, so on the 3rd fret right here on the low E string, to make them a bit more powerful. And then I was also adding the 9th on top, which sounds really nice. And I also did that for the D power chord, so the last part is essentially just so in the end we have another small harmonic minor twist by playing D sharp right here, that's leading into E, just for the resolution, to create a bit of tension. Let's hear the entire section once again, now that we analyzed all those cool individual parts. So once again, don't forget to download your files for this lesson on patreon.com/BERNTH to learn all of these shapes in detail. This lesson is not about just learning this riff that I wrote for this video. I want you to work with all of these cool approaches for your own riffs from now on. You will be surprised by how small changes can really spice up your songs. In the end, make sure to subscribe to join this guitar community today, that way you never miss out on another free guitar lesson like that. Leave a like in case you enjoyed that one and a comment in case you have any further questions. If you would like to support this channel and the creation of more guitar lessons like that in the future, you can also check out the merch on Teespring. As always, I left a link to the shop in the description below this video. Thanks a lot to everybody who already ordered some merch at this point. That really means a lot to me, so thanks a lot for your support. I will hopefully see you again in the next video lesson. Take care until then and have a lot of fun working on this.